Who doesn't love a good pun? My guest this week may or may not be one I've been very excited to cover for a long time. And believe me, I'm not joshing around when I say this guest is a pretty big deal. Strap your boots on, friends, because this interview might be more than you bargained for. So, let's talk about it. Before we jump into today's video, I'd like to shout out this week's sponsor, Quality Carpentry. Quality Carpentry is a custom deck building company serving London, Middlesex, Huron-Perth, and surrounding areas. They have been leaders in PVC, composite, and low-maintenance decking and railing options for over 10 years. With an extensive residential framing and contracting background, Quality Carpentry strives to help you enjoy your home to the fullest. Stop doing yard work and start living outside. Call Quality Carpentry today. My guest today represented Ward 7 as a city councillor in 2014. Re-elected in 2018, he also served as budget chair and was appointed to deputy mayor in 2020. I'd like to welcome to the show today the 65th Mayor of London, Ontario, Josh Morgan. Thanks for coming on the show today, Josh.
Thanks for having me on. I'm
really-
excited.
I really
I've watched
appreciate
the show, but I haven't been on it, so this is
excellent.
this is a different experience.
I'm shocked that you still want to come on the show, considering you watched the show.
Yeah, well, we've got snacks, so that's
That's
usually
it's
that
always a
usually
good
get me
sell.
out.
Let's start with the elephant in the room here. Ed Holder, your mentor and predecessor, carried us through one of the most difficult times in our city's history. Those are some pretty big shoes to fill. I'm wondering, do you feel that you're up to the task? And what is your biggest piece of advice Ed has given you over the years?
Yeah, so I guess the first thing on the question, am I up to the task? For sure, and I think I've got a lot of experience over the years. Even working with Ed as deputy mayor. During my time as deputy mayor, I actually served as acting mayor for over 100 days, which, it really gives you a feel for, working with the staff in that office, working with civic administration and other councillors with that hat on, because it is a very different role, and it can be a very different role. As for advice Ed gave me, I think there's the advice that people tell you, and then there's the advice you learn just from watching someone. And Ed had this phenomenal ability to make someone feel very special in the room, and it wasn't about like the political gain he got from that. It was that he genuinely believed in empowering others as just his approach to life, right? So he'd see someone and he'd elevate them and their voice in a way where they would have the ability to speak for themselves and from a different platform. So I think that was the most important thing that I watched and then learned from Ed is how to do that, how to make someone feel good, how to magnify their voice, how to get them to make their contribution in the way that they want to make it. So there's lots of things we talked about over the years, but I think that's the piece that I picked up from him that I think was most meaningful.
For viewers not overly familiar with how municipal politics work, I'm wondering if you can explain the roles and responsibilities of a mayor.
Sure. So there's the legislative responsibilities. A mayor under the legislation actually has a different role than councillor. I won't go through all the details, but essentially there's a leadership role to provide leadership to council. There's some small different duties. But I think, beyond what's actually in the legislation, it's really around that leadership position. You do speak for council, you do get to represent the community in multiple ways. And so the role of mayor is to really, provide that direction and leadership to the community. In my style, that is in consultation with the community and with the needs of the community, directly at the center of it. You also have roles within civic administration and the corporation. I end up being the CEO of the corporation of the City of London, and so, council is ultimately the employer, but beyond council's day-to-day, ability to meet, I carry out a lot of those duties on behalf of my colleagues, working with civic administration on a regular basis. I do a lot more work with government relations and interacting with other levels of government and elected officials and public officials at other levels. And so, those are the I guess the duties beyond, being a ward councillor. I would say my job has shifted a lot. There's parts that I miss, the day-to-day complaints about, snow removal or, sidewalk plowing or construction. Those have kind of faded into the, they don't come up as often as a ward councillor. I'm dealing much more with high-level stuff, citywide issues of strategic direction, issues of strategic partnership, a lot more engagement with people in the LEDC and Tourism London about attracting and bringing businesses to London. So, it's shifted from what I would say is a lot of daily interaction on street-by-street issues with residents to a much more larger strategic focus across the city.
The 5 pillars of your campaign are very well known: economic prosperity, climate change focus, housing and affordability, mental health and addictions, and creating an inclusive city with safe and vibrant neighborhoods. Can you elaborate how ordinary citizens can help you realize these dreams and goals that you have set in place?
Yeah. So the first thing about a campaign platform, it's important to have one because it's important for people as they decide whether or not to support you to know the direction that you'd like to take the city. We built our platform with a very diverse team and with a lot of outreach and engagement to the community. And so we tried to build something that was reflective of both where Londoners wanted to go, but where we needed to go as well as a city based on the challenges we face. So how do individuals get involved in supporting that? If you think about how a campaign vision comes to fruition, it basically essentially has to be rolled into a series of municipal processes, including the development of our strategic plan, the development of our multi-year budget, and all of the policies and initiatives that come out of a vision. And so where the public can really be involved, because at a campaign level you're setting a broad-based direction, is when we get into the development of the strategic plan and the multi-year budget and the initiatives. There is always opportunities through our engagement platform, getinvolved.london.ca, to give feedback on the things we're considering. So as I take that platform and push it into things like the strategic plan, and all the other councillors are taking what they heard at the doors and pushing them into the documents like that, Londoners engaging with that document and participating in the feedback that we put in is how we have that check on us to make sure we're getting it right. So the most important thing they can do to bring these visions to fruition is to be a check and balance on us to make sure we've got it right, we're headed in the right direction, and to share their great ideas, because we may not have every piece of the puzzle solved, and there may be a Londoner out there who says, here's a way that we can help improve parks in our city or something else. So that engagement with the municipal council, not just at election time, but between, as we develop all of these initiatives, is the most important thing Londoners can do to give us our feedback and help bring these big visions to fruition.
Today what we have is because you're a huge sports fan and you are notoriously a huge London Majors fan. Mm-hmm. And you've thrown out a few opening pitches throughout the years. So originally I was going to make hot dogs, and you can only do so much with hot dogs, aside from toppings. But I thought I'd try my hand at making some candied almonds and peanuts and Cracker Jacks. So feel free to try whichever one you want first.
Yeah.
I'll let you choose.
Sure, I'll do almonds first.
Let's try it. I tried to make sure they were still kind of warm before you showed up, but
they are warm in the middle still. Mm-hmm. I like that. It's a good, the key with the candied almonds is that the candied part, right? Mm-hmm. Because everybody knows what an almond tastes like, but it's good. It complements the almond flavor really well. I really like it. I would like to try this one now.
Would you like to try it again?
Yeah. Well, I want to try this one. You made two, so.
Yeah.
That tastes really good. Yeah, that's like a traditional Cracker Jack. Mm-hmm. It's like almost out of the box.
Pretty much, right? Mm-hmm. And I made this last night. I sampled a little bit. My girlfriend was here and I said, hey, try this out. And she's like, that tastes just like it came out of the box. So, So I nailed it, I guess.
Oh, you got it. It's really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're on record stating that you do not believe in divisive or hyper-partisan politics. and you'd rather focus on collaborative and consensus building and results. But it seems lately, though, that the public perception towards politics is one that is uncertainty, misinformation, and frustration. How hard it is to cut out all that noise and hold firm to these values while not deviating to appease headline seekers.
Yeah, so it's not too hard for me. I think for a couple of reasons. One, I've been on council for a number of years, so I've seen this pressure and this transition. It's always been there, but more so with, I think, more people getting their first step news from things like social media and consuming it as news when sometimes it's not. You get this different type of pressure that you start to feel in the community, that has a little bit more of a divisive flavor to it, right? When you think about how social media works, even things like Facebook, you kind of group yourself with people who have similar views to you, and so you get those views become self-enforcing or self-reinforcing, I should say. And that isn't great for having a wider perspective, a wider worldview, a thought to what other perspectives are, and critical thinking and challenging your own narratives. And so I've always, tried to ground myself in a very wide network of individuals to ensure that I don't fall into that trap, although I see many others fall in there. And two, the idea of being a consensus builder isn't just about trying to get everybody on the same page as where I am. It's out of an ultimate actual respect for the fact that I'm elected citywide, but there's 14 other people who were elected by parts of the city, each with their own ideas and perspectives on how we should move the city forward. So if you're actually going to be true to getting it right, you've got to find an avenue to be a consensus builder, to find that middle ground, to pull in those great ideas and perspectives from across the city and put them together in a way that allows us to get it more right than we otherwise would. And I think in that process, I really believe in empowering the voices of the individual councillors across the city, and that means it doesn't always have to be me at the center. It can be others who are speaking on issues and initiatives that they have experience, knowledge, and passion about. And so to be a consensus builder, I think it's not only trying to find that common vision, but it's also finding the opportunities to bring and empower others to have their voices heard, in a way that maybe they hadn't before. And when you have that capacity to express yourself, one, we get more diverse views represented at the Horseshoe. People aren't entrenching themselves into, pockets of factions or groups. There's an openness and a freedom to say, I can safely say, here's what my ward and what I think, and to see that kind of come into a common approach. I've seen it be very divisive before, and that's almost where you feel, if you have camps, that you feel like you need to entrench into one of them to have your voice heard, right? So I think the longer we can stay with this really open perspective of bringing in everyone's voice, I'll certainly work towards doing that. It's certainly the style I'm much more comfortable with. I think we're gonna have less division and more dialogue. I actually think it's great that we disagree on things on council. Like that's what council's for. We should not be all coming together and saying we all agree on this every time, because Londoners don't agree on every issue. So those diverse voices need to be represented. Now, it should be expressed in a respectful way where we're listening to each other and actually thoughtfully considering what's being said. And then we turn that into what comes next, right? And that means sometimes we're going to be a little slower than folks would like, but it's also going to be much more genuine and much more thoughtful and much more collaborative than we otherwise would. So
it's you touched on not living in an echo chamber.
Yeah.
When it comes to it, right?
I think that's the worst thing you can do, right? Because and I found that during the pandemic. I'll share one quick story with you. So during the pandemic, we were on Zoom. So what you would do is you would leave a heated debate. You'd walk into your kitchen and you'd tell your spouse or your partner all about it. And they sometimes wouldn't de-escalate you. They'd sometimes fire you up more. We would stop seeing each other as humans and people with other lives and other things going on. We'd lose that ability to de-escalate and come together on issues, and to me that wasn't great. That actually was what led to, I think, more tension than necessary, more division. So It's the way that we interact with each other and the ability to just talk, I think, from time to time is what helps us find that common ground and work through differences of opinion a lot more effectively.
You've served on many boards and represented many organizations in leadership roles. I could spend an entire video talking about your service to our community. We've served as members of the board at the Oak Ridge Optimist Club at different times in our tenure there. But volunteering as a whole has been declining in Canada for several years now. I'm wondering what advice you would give to viewers in terms of why it's important to volunteer in their communities.
Yeah, so it's good. I'd like that you brought up the Oak Ridge Optimist Club because I think I joined in around 2005. I became president in 2007. But I remember it was like 10 years. I was the youngest member of the club from the time I joined to like 2015. Mm-hmm. And that's a challenge because you see service clubs aging, right? And you think, who's going to continue to do this work, whether it's Optimists or Lions or Rotarians or the dozens of other clubs in our city that serve the different areas of the community in many different ways. And so I think volunteerism is very important for a couple of reasons. One, there's really important, incredible work to be done. And two, based on what we talked about previously, any other opportunity you have to get out of your work environment or your family environment and engage with another group of people and do good work together allows you to have just that larger perspective of what's going on in our community and what's going on in our world, and I think makes you a more holistic person. So I've always found volunteering, whether it's the Optimist Club or other organizations, very rewarding because through those volunteer experiences I usually learn something new on a regular basis, right? Because you mix with a different group of people, you find common ground. Now, what can we do to try to keep volunteerism going? Like that is a fundamental challenge. There's definitely a need for a younger generation to pick up the mantle of where others have left off with serving the community in this way. And that doesn't mean it needs to stay exactly as it always has been. I think there are ways to modernize and shape and change the way that volunteerism looks in our community, but we definitely need young people in our city to take up the mantle and bring their talents, thoughts, and perspectives to the volunteer world, not just the working world, not just the social world, but to the volunteer world as well.
You pledged to support the building of 50,000 homes here in London, invest substantial funds into parks, and you are an advocate for intensification. But we have a skilled trade shortage like we've never seen before. Do you see a path to rectifying this shortage? And how will London play a part in being a leader in this solution?
Yes, so skilled labor is definitely a challenge that both our community is facing as well as others. We are one of the fastest growing communities in the country. That means that not only do we have to create places for people to live, but there's all the surrounding infrastructure that goes with it. And that's roads, sewers, even through intensification, sometimes you have to upsize the sewers, reorganize the roads, add different features to them. There's also all of the soft services. We don't want to erode the quality of life in our city, which means we need to invest in improved parks, recreation services, and the other things that people continue to enjoy that make life great to live here in the City of London. So all of that, almost everything I just talked about, requires some element of skilled labor to bring to fruition. And so everybody's doing this all at the same time. There's a huge shortage. And I've been working closely with someone like Minister Monty McNaughton at the provincial level, who's been a huge advocate for the skilled trades, both in supporting them as well as in clearing pathways to making it easier to move into that sort of career. There's only so much we can do in the short term, but in the medium and long term, we can encourage more people to go into the skilled trades to help us, build the cities that are going to be built. I don't think the desire to come to Canada or the desire for Canada to grow and expand and become better is going to end anytime soon. And so this is a problem we need to look at in the short term, but also the medium and long term. And I think about wonderful things in our community of people pulling together, whether it's the work that Monty's doing at the provincial level, or whether it's local individuals like Jamie Critch, who recently donated $2 million to Fanshawe College in support of their skilled trades program, to try to bolster that, to draw attention to it. We've got to start talking about it a lot more. and we've got to make sure people know that this is a path that is a great option for a lifelong career. You know, well-paying, very rewarding, and at the end of the day, you get to do stuff like, you know, build the communities that we live in from many different facets. So I think that, you know, this is a challenge that we currently have, and we've got to figure out a way to work through it in the short term, but we've got to talk a lot more about the value of the skilled trades in this industry in the community, because over time it's always been, you know, valued, but sometimes pushed aside, and people have been encouraged, you should get a university degree to move on and, you know, contribute to society. And but there's so many other ways that are equally as valuable.
Yeah, we are struggling here, but we are growing.
Yes.
I've never seen so many tower cranes in the city like I am right now.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a struggle, right? So.
Yeah, well, and that's actually what's holding back some of our development too. When you talked about me supporting the construction of 50,000 homes in our city, you know, the city doesn't build those homes, but they provide the permissions for it. Mm-hmm. And we have provided permissions with very few things left for about 18,000 homes that have not come to fruition yet. So if you think about, you know, 50,000, 18,000, it's a great head start. Most of those are in the, you know, high and medium density range, and most of them, you know, require skilled labor financing and other components to bring to fruition. We're currently got a committee of industry partners, not-for-profits, and city officials coming together to say what are the barriers within that space. And one of the barriers that has been identified is you can only do so much with your properties because there's only so much skilled labor to go around, right? And so there can be a little bit of a backlog, and we give the permissions, but they don't come to fruition because there just aren't the people to bring it to fruition, right? So some big builders in our community they've got their tower, and they've got their next tower, and their next tower. Could they do two at once? Sure, but that requires, you know, double the equipment, double the skilled labor, and that's where sometimes the backlog is. So meeting this challenge will also allow us to, I think, push through bringing those 18,000 units to fruition, which again are mainly medium and high density. They're exactly the types of units we want. There's very few barriers left for them to clear municipally, if any, and they put us a long way towards meeting our target to try to create more affordable and housing spaces in our city.
True or false time?
Yeah.
You dip your fries in mayo. True or false?
True.
No hesitation.
Not all the time, but yeah, I do. Yeah.
Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. True or false?
Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. False.
You believe it's a Christmas movie?
Yeah.
100%.
I watched it at Christmas, so it's a Christmas movie to me.
Oh, great. Fair enough.
And plus, I like the controversy around this, so someone's got to say it's a Christmas movie, so someone else can say it's not.
Yeah,
right?
there's definitely controversy around it. You make pun-based dad jokes.
All the time.
All the time?
True. That's very true.
Can we hear one?
I'm trying to think of one I did today. I said it was a Marvel joke. No, it was a Harry Potter joke. I just say stuff like to Ainsley, I'll pick this up and I'll say like, Ainsley, this is a Sirius Black. And she'll just start laughing.
I wouldn't got that.
Yeah.
I just watched the Harry Potter series.
I only say that because my daughter's big into Harry Potter, and
right.
So if you just work those things in, or what was another one I said to her? I said, do you think Taylor Swift gets her clothes fixed quickly?
Clothes fixed quickly.
Yeah, Taylor Swift.
See, that's a...
They may not be funny.
At least we can all agree on that.
They're puns. So my daughter likes it because every once in a while you have to listen. You're like, what? I don't have to think about that. And then she just starts giggling.
See, that took me a second to pick up on that one. But I'm also not the biggest Taylor Swift fan, so...
I'm not either, but it's a good pun joke. Now everybody's going to know that I'm not funny.
Yep!
Funny.
I'm funny in my own household, right? So if people have better pun jokes, you got to send them in to me.
That's
so
right.
I can use them at home.
We need some, we need something to work with.
Half of it is trying to annoy my kids with them, and half of it's to try to be funny.
And that's it, right?
Yeah.
True or false, you've never once labeled a Christmas gift for yourself?
that's false. I've done that many a time.
Many times?
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, if you label a Christmas gift for yourself, you put it under the tree, then it's kind of hard to have to return that.
I was going to follow up with that and ask you,
Yeah.
is that why you do it?
Yeah. Especially if you label it, from Santa.
That's pretty brilliant.
Although Melanie's caught on to this now, and so now she does the same thing. So now we've escalated this this battle. So there's the gifts we buy. There's the gifts that actually legit come from Santa, and then every once in a while there's one in there that maybe I bought myself that says it's coming from Santa.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You've been a member of Dad Club London for several years. You've shared some incredible moments with our membership over the years as well. You've even organized tours of City Hall for our members and their children in the past. I'm wondering if you'd like to shout out your children. You've mentioned them a couple times so far.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, my children are a big part of my life. So Ainsley is 14, McKenna's 12, Max just turned 7, and Archer's 2. So yes, before I came here, I did change a diaper, and I still do that sort of thing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the days when changing diapers are behind us.
I bet you are.
But it's good. And Archer is at that age now where he's finally got this huge personality. He doesn't know what to do with it. So you'll help him up on a chair, and he will have to get down and do it himself because he wanted to do it. It was in his head, right? He does all these quirky little things now. He'll sit on the floor and he'll hide, and he's got that hiding game where if he can't see you, he thinks you can't see him.
Right.
So what are you doing? I'm hiding.
You mean it doesn't actually work? Because I still do that.
Oh yeah, no, it might work. I haven't tried it recently, but Archer would say absolutely it works. Yeah, so he's got tons of personality, and he's great, and it's so good to have the spread that we have because everybody's so helpful with him, helping him out and teaching him and reading stories to him. So it's great. It's a good mix.
That's amazing.
It's like a zone defense now though with 4. So yeah. Sometimes it's busy.
You're building a
very
team.
busy.
I'm wondering, as Dad Club London just celebrated 10 years in London, if you had any words of encouragement for the club and the volunteers moving forward.
Yeah, so we talked about volunteerism before, and I think one of the things that Dad Club's really done right is they've done a great mix of service and social, right? Because if you make it fun and you make new friends and you have opportunities to bring people together and you bring families together, I think you attract more people into it. And then when you're doing that good service-based work, you've got not just people who are aging, but people who are coming in who are new all the time. And I've seen that over the years with Dad Club, where there's this constant injection of new people coming into it because they've got the right mix. So, my encouragement to them is you found a great model to work with. That model of not only doing incredibly important things for our community, but making it fun and involving your family. One of the things as mayor, which I always look to, is there's lots of events I have to say no to, but every once in a while there's the ones where I know I can bring my family along, right? Whether it's a sports game or a dinner with a cultural group or other things. I like that opportunity because if I can bring them along, I'm spending more time with them. I'm not away from them then. And so Dad Club has so many opportunities to involve your kids and your family in the work that's being done. And I think that's a really magic solution because it makes it very sustainable.
For sure.
And fun, of course. Yeah.
It is, and that's what we've always aimed to do is make it fun and enjoyable, build networks with other people in our community, right?
Yeah.
And we're closing in now on donating over $200,000 to local charities here in London.
Wow.
This year, and we've partnered up with Ronald McDonald House, and I think everybody who's from London knows the importance of Ronald McDonald House.
Oh, yeah.
So it's an exciting year for us.
That's amazing, and congratulations on approaching 200,000. That's really an amazing accomplishment for what started as, I think, just a group of dads getting together, wanting to do something nice for the community, and now it's grown into such an amazing organization.
This might be the most important question in the interview. Anybody that knows you knows that you are a huge London Majors baseball fan, which is our local IBL team for anyone that's watching outside the London area. Ed Holder was a diehard Knights fan, so much so that he engaged in friendly bets with other mayors during the playoffs. So we got Mayor Morgan here with his Majors jersey on today, and I've got my Knights jersey on because playoff season and the Majors are just getting started. I'm wondering if we can expect the same type of London passion from you when it comes to our respective sports teams as mayor.
Yeah, so first off, I am also a huge Knights fan, and when I went to get this jersey out of my closet, it was hanging right beside my Knights jersey. But given you have the playoffs covered, I figured I would wear this jersey to get Londoners to start thinking about the kickoff to the season coming up in I think just over a month. So we got two phenomenal sports teams, and to answer your question, absolutely, I'm excited, and I have plans to challenge the other mayors, particularly when our teams play each other. Mayor Barry Verbanevik is the mayor of Kitchener, and the Knights are now moving into their series with Kitchener.
Mm-hmm.
And what's great is we have an Ontario Big City Mayors meeting in Kitchener, hosting Kitchener on the 20th, and that's one of the nights that, unfortunately, the game's being played in London, but I think, you could see Barry and I doing a little bet on that evening, since we'll be together. Maybe we'll watch the game together. That's assuming, because that's game 5, that the Knights haven't already crushed them and are on to the next round.
Well, I got a number. How do you like them apples?
Right, and they should obviously.
Yeah,
right?
but no, I'll be engaging with Barry to see how we can set up a little bet on this, and I've done so in the past with mayors like Cam Guthrie, even before I was mayor. I know that one year the Majors had to play one exhibition game to keep the streak for Labatt Park alive as the longest continuous operated ballpark in the world. So the Intercounty Baseball League gave permission for an exhibition game between Guelph and London. And I got to throw out the pitch to that game, but I know Mayor Guthrie and I were chirping each other during the course of the game. A game which London won, by the way.
Yes, you did.
Of course.
And so, yeah, no, I think it provides fun, and, good-spirited poking at each other is never a bad thing. So Barry and I will come up with something appropriate for the London-Kitchener rivalry, which is a big one.
That's great. I love when mayors get engaged with the sports teams and show their pride. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what comes of this.
Actually, and it's funny you ask this question, because Nathan, who works in my office, and I were just texting last night about this very subject. What are we going to do to with this Kitchener-London series? And
Right.
so we've got some ideas.
That's awesome. And that is, and I don't know if I touched on this, but this is why I made the snack day, because of the kickoff of the IBL season and the Majors going to bring home another trophy for us. I thought baseball snack would be fantastic today.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the Majors just re-signed Cleveland, which is great because they got a phenomenally talented team, and he's been a good part of that. And so getting him for another season is, I think, going to give them the firepower at that position, which will really complement the other players. So they have a really good chance. And we talked about all this, but the other thing that I've been to, I took my kids through the other day, is a London Lightning game. We've got great basketball in the city too.
Right.
And it's always really cool to see, within a couple of days, the ice transition from the Knights playing to, a basketball stadium and the Lightning playing. And we've got a great facility in Budweiser Gardens that allows us flexibly to do that. But again, the London Lightning, hugely successful team, 5 championships. So we've got the Knights, we've got the Majors, we've got the Lightning, and then we've got things like FC London too. Like
Right.
there's the big ones, the ones that get a lot of attention, but there's these other really phenomenal, talented athletes in our city who are performing at a very high level. And so, I'd encourage Londoners to check it all out. And that alone, ignores the fact that we have Olympic champions in our city who
That's true.
are performing at, the highest level in the world. And so it is a sports community, right? People don't always think about it that way, but our sports community and sports tourism in the city is something that is a real thing, and something that we have a lot of potential to grow.
And we can't forget the Mustangs as well.
Absolutely.
I almost forgot to bring up the Mustangs.
Well, you get a whole range of teams with that,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
it's not just the Mustang football team, but they've got a whole range of talented athletes who are performing, again, at the highest levels across the province and across the country.
We're definitely spoiled in the city when it comes to our sports, so.
Yeah, that's why there's so many. So next time we can wear an FC London and a Lightning jersey.
There we go.
And we'll do another segment.
And I guess the news just recently came out, and I know this wasn't part of the interview, but we now have a London astronaut that we can claim fame to as well.
Yeah, and that's pretty amazing. Not just having an astronaut, but Jeremy will go to the moon, right? And
Yes.
he won't land on the moon, but he'll go around the moon and he'll fly further out into space than any human has. And so for Canada to be recognized in its years and years and decades of contributions to the space program, the International Space Station, and the support we provided, the technology we provided, the astronauts we've had over the years, I think for the Artemis 2 mission to get a nod to have a Canadian astronaut in that mission is really a testament to not just him, but all of the people who support the Canadian Space Agency and all of the work, whether that's people at the agency, people who are researchers even right here at Western, who are making contributions, whether it be equipment, technology, research to the space industry, and really taking things to the next level. So I think it's phenomenal for our city, but it is a testament to the community it takes to get someone to that spot.
And there was a question on Classic Rock 981 the other day.
Yeah.
What should Jeremy take to the moon
Yeah.
with him to represent London? I don't know if you saw that on social media or not,
No.
but I tossed out the idea of some Sami Souvlaki and maybe a piece of the Talbot Street Bridge.
Yes.
I think they're
No, would the Slovaki stay fresh all the way to the moon? Like you'd have to maybe they like to freeze dry things, right? In space.
Well, if they vacuum seal it, they get a few more days.
That's true. Yes. Yeah. Well, maybe they can take some of these, right?
Yeah,
So, no, I think that is really a cool idea, and I wonder what he thinks about that because there's certainly some options there. Yeah.
There's no shortage of things that you can take with him. Maybe a nice jersey or a major jersey.
Well, not only that, but like for Southwestern Ontario, after the mission is over, just think about how inspiring it will be to have someone who can come and talk about that experience. One of the things I've always heard astronauts talk about, and I know Chris Hadfield and I had a chance to chat a couple of years back, one of the things he got from leaving Earth was the perspective on how small our planet is, how fragile it is, how much we have to do to protect it and take care of each other, right? When you're that far away, sometimes the conflicts and the challenges and the frustrations we have with each other seem very small and put in a very stark perspective. And so to have someone who's going to be able to come back, not only inspire young people to follow his lead, but inspire them to think about our planet in a different way, think about our community and how we interact with each other in a different way. I think it's going to be great for London. It's going to be great for the region. It's going to be great for Canada.
Well, I'd like to thank Mayor Josh Morgan for stopping by the show today. I know, Josh, you have an extremely busy schedule, and I'm looking forward to all the exciting things that are about to roll out in the next year, couple of years, with respect to the community here in London. So thank you for your time today. Thank you for stopping by, and it was an absolute pleasure getting to talk to you today.
Yeah, thank you so much for the time. I really enjoyed it, and happy to chat anytime. You know where to find me, and maybe next time come by City Hall and we'll show you around. And I just really appreciate what you're doing by asking questions, getting information out, doing it in a fun and exciting way. And I'll look forward to seeing you at a game sometime for many of the sports teams we talked about.
Absolutely, and thanks for the kind words. I do try to cover a wide-ranging set of topics. Mostly, it's a skilled trade show for the most part, promoting the trades. But I do like to get perspectives of everybody within the community, and any people that have a vested interest in the health of the trades, which, as mayor, you do have a very big interest in seeing a lot of this through. So thanks again.
My pleasure.
And for the viewers at home, remember, start hungry, stay handy. We'll catch you in the next one.